I've heard rumors that there are that the United States has special forces there.
Yeah, we have a few hundred.
Yeah,
They recently sent a few hundred troops to Taiwan. It's really the highest troop level since the U.S. and China normalized relations, because part of that deal was for the U.S. to pull its troops out and its mutual defense treaty with Taiwan and eventually stop selling them weapons. But the way they made that commitment was so vague that they'll tell you they can interpret it in 12 different ways. But a big part of it was pulling the troops out. And recently, the U.S. sent about 100 to 200 troops, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're China, it's very provocative to China. And you mentioned sustaining a war. Go
real quick, to make a point. Imagine if China stationed 100 troops in Cuba.
Yeah.
China has actual police forces inside the United States.
That's a good point.
What? I mean, like they're not policing regular Americans, but they're policing Chinese Americans.
What's the story with that? Because I've heard
there are
about
actual.
That. It seemed like
there are.
I think them calling it police stations is a pretty dramatic way to describe it.
It's Chinese law enforcement operating out of the United States with offices to go to Chinese citizens living in the United States and arrest them for crimes against China.
From what I understand, that's not what it is. Again, this is something I don't really know about. But
FBI thought it was.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the FBI.
The FBI says a lot of things.
Right, yeah.
From what I understand, they have these kind of offices where that are on paper, they say that they're there to help Chinese Americans, like with certain documents and stuff. And then they might be going after dissidents through those offices, which a lot of countries do. I mean, India might have killed a Sikh in Canada. If that was China that killed a Uyghur in Canada, we would be talking about that every day.
Yeah.
But India kind of, the U.S. is looking at India as this new partner in containing China.
This is from New York. New York Post says that they've opened 4 police stations, Chinese, in North America. 3 of them are in Toronto. One's in New York City.
Mm-hmm. But I know they do.
What does that mean, police station?
To target Chinese Americans for infractions.
Who knows? So maybe one thing on paper and another thing.
But I want to stress this. I think it's fair to say that there's definitely a very warped perspective on what China is like for Americans.
Yeah.
And I think we often get people saying, like, get on, Lawai or Serpentsa to come on and talk about China. You go to a Chinese city and you're going to go to Pizza Hut and you're going to have a slice of pizza. Like, these things exist. There's competing interest and power at play, and there's no saints. There's no saints and there's no saviors.
I get the
I've been
vibe.
To China. I've been to Shanghai. It was.
Did you have the
awesome.
Did you get the stuffed crust with the hot dog in it?
No.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You go to China, and this is what concerns me. You go to Pizza, I think it's Pizza Hut, and they will stuff they will stuff your crust with anything, including hot dogs.
I get the vibe that they're way more.
Sounds kind of good.
They're way more allied and aligned with the United States than like the Iranians. Like the Chinese are severely oligarchic businessmen. They don't want conflict or war, destruction. They want to improve, and they're willing to. They want to buy us out, if anything.
You are correct. The Chinese try to cut deals with American politicians to gain power. They want to buy land. They want to use soft power to expand. Whereas Iran, very different.
And I'm using Iran as an example, but the people that have been heavily radicalized in the Middle East from all these bombings and things.
Well, the people that have been heavily radicalized in the Middle East are radicalized for multiple different reasons. The Chinese, like Tim said, it's all soft power, but they still want to be able to influence, and they want to be, they're using soft power, but it is to have the United States have policies that benefit China, whether they be indirectly or directly benefiting China,
But China, the really scary thing about Taiwan, so you mentioned sustaining a war right off China's coast. If you look at the think tanks that have been putting out these war games and about what a battle would be like, the first battle over Taiwan, like the first few weeks, and they never consider nuclear escalation. So this is the really scary part about China, is that our Pentagon, our military leaders, you hear them say they're openly planning for a direct war with China. They're saying they're trying to deter war, but if it happens, they're going to take them head on. They have nukes. But anyway, with the war games, they don't take into account nuclear escalation. But besides that, in the first few weeks, a naval battle over Taiwan, thousands and thousands of American sailors will be killed.